Hello and welcome to the Habit Architect. My name is Michael Cups. I'm the host today, and as usual, and it's a special kind of trick or treat episode today because we're close to Halloween. If you celebrate that sort of thing, it's certainly on every TV and every store. There's candy everywhere, all the things. But the concept of trick or treat is something I want to explore with our guest today. And I'll tell you a quick story. So, AI is everywhere. We're all tempted to use AI for just about everything. I stepped out there, you know my background with productivity and habits and things like that. I stepped out there and tried an AI tool that was going to magically make my calendar work for me. And I'd like to say it was successful. I'm not going to name the name brand, but what really happened was it just filled my calendar with any request. And I couldn't figure out a way to prioritize the request. So instead of actually optimizing my time, it filled my calendar with everything and anything, and then it was just a difficult thing to navigate. So I kind of abandoned that tool. It was good thing it was only a free trial period. But the point being that AI is incredible. It can do great things, but used incorrectly, or maybe I didn't give it the right information, it became a disaster. And that's not to even mention something that it could have used my private information. So I was at a dinner not too long ago, and I met our guest today, Cortnie Abercrombie, and I was really impressed with the conversation we had, not just she and I, but with this group of people talking about AI and AI health. And Courtney had some great observations and comments. So I immediately asked her if she would join us on the show. So Courtney is an author of a book that is now on Amazon. If you want to go find it, it's called What You Don't Know. And it is about AI truth. She is also the leader of a nonprofit organization called AItruth.org. You'll have the sticker that'll show you that. So she's established herself as not only a board member and a technology leader, also in women's health, and but in particular, what we're going to talk most about today is kind of this AI trick or treat kind of program. So let's bring Courtney onto the show. And while we do that, I did mention that she's got a book on Amazon. She's got a website you can go to, aitruth.org, and she will be here, and I'll let her introduce herself. Hello, Courtney.
Hey, how are you?
Very good. Good to see you again. It's. I'm really looking forward to this conversation. I hope you don't mind the play on trick or treat and Halloween, but I think it's a
Of course.
good. I think it's a great way to frame it because there's so much. Everybody wants to dive into AI. Not everybody, but most people want to dive into AI and see what it can do for them. But there may be some tricks in there that we don't. On the surface see. So I'm looking forward to talking about that. But let's start with just maybe an introduction of yourself. I tried to introduce everything, but I'm sure there's more about you that you can share.
No, I think that's a great way to introduce. I appreciate the introduction. Yeah, no, I mean, I've been in this space and been doing things related to AI and data data forever. And then, of course, as AI evolved in the enterprise, I was an executive at IBM working in looking at incubating different AI solutions, over a
Yep.
hundred different ones across a lot of different industries. So,
Yep.
so yeah, just been privy to all kinds of interesting
Yes.
AI adventures. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And data is at the heart of it too. Your own personal data, the company's data, and everybody else's data. Well, let's start maybe at a high level. What's the biggest trick, the biggest threat that people should know about using AI? If you can narrow it down to one.
Well, oh yeah, I can. I absolutely can. And I always say it's 90% of what is going wrong with AI is related to data. I mean, I know that sounds stupid, but a lot of people
Mm,
don't realize that these things actually are not just like magically existing on their own. They are fed by data, and
yes.
people are the exhaust that creates the data. So, like, we
Yeah.
create data exhaust everywhere we go, and little breadcrumbs behind us, and
Yeah.
how we take in that information. And how we filter it, even from our own standpoint. Like, even when you talk about police, witness testimony, stuff like that.
Hmm.
When you think about how different witnesses will tell you about the appearance of somebody, or what happened, it's often driven by filters, right? So we all
Wow.
have filters, and at the end of the day, the people who create algorithms, which is nothing more than a set of instructions for how a computer should analyze a given scenario, It all comes down to people and what our filters are and how we set those instructions up. And then it takes on a life of its own from there. So we have this ground truth, but it all comes back to data and people and
Yeah.
context.
Yeah, I'm glad that you said it that way, because it's interesting, because a lot of people hear the word algorithm and they don't think about it. You mentioned that it's an instruction set, and are they? If you look in OpenAI and Claude, and those are those instruction sets vastly different, or are they similar? I mean,
No,
obviously,
they're
yeah,
yeah, it all comes back down to just these are sets of instructions that humans give to computers in the form of we give them in all kinds of ways. Algorithms can be as simple as I can tell you the most simple thing I can think of is write down a set of instructions for your 2-year-old or 3-year-old or 4-year-old to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
yeah,
That's an algorithm. But if you get much more complicated in the way that we know physicists can, and the way that we know actuaries can, you're applying extreme mathematical concepts, and that's
yeah,
where it gets beyond a lot of us. Our own recognition. I don't know the last time you took calculus 3 or beyond that, or linear algebra or anything of that nature. That's where it starts to get beyond, our normal capabilities, unless we're mathematicians, to understand what these actual algorithms are up to. And even when we start talking about really complicated ones that are doing neural nets and things of this nature that tend to be a little more black box in nature, we basically set the algorithms up with mathematical equations, and then we do a set it and forget it. Remember that
yeah,
guy, the Ronco guy? Set it and
yeah,
forget it.
yeah,
So we
yeah,
tend to do
exactly.
that. That's what we do now. We do lots of massive large language learning of and back propagations and all kinds of really cool mathematical things with
Yeah,
it. And then we do ensemble methods of those even. So that means like we're taking the most complicated mathematical complicated things we can think of, and then we also, in addition to that, do ensemble versions of them. So we take all these different linear things together, and then we put them with these other abilities, and then we smash them all together and we create new ways to analyze data. I mean,
right.
but it all comes down to math and sets of instructions
Yeah,
and
yeah,
people.
and you made it sound simple, but it can be complex. So what you mentioned at the start that 90% of AI problems, if you will, are data problems. And so as an individual, um, and then we can talk about the company, but as an individual, what is the data problem that instantiates itself differently for, getting different responses, getting different or even wrong responses? What is it about our data that's wrong, or that maybe we're giving it?
Ironically, it comes to critical thinking of humans who put together the algorithms and how they include data and what they
Ah,
don't include in the data.
ah,
And so when I look at a set of data and I'm going to analyze it, and this process is called the exploratory data analysis part of what a data scientist is going to do. They're going to look at a set of data and they're going to analyze it for what they need out of their equations, and how they're going to engineer this data. But if you look at it and you think, wow, women are only like 20% of this information, whereas men are like 90%. But we don't want to exclude women in the future from getting let's say we're looking at a jobs potential
yeah, yeah,
for job candidates for engineers, but you only see historically there's like only 2 women in this set and there's like 10 guys in this set.
right,
Well, then that means that you're going to have to do something so that those women's features related to
yeah,
them in the data will also be picked up for when you're recruiting, so that you don't, let's say those women are going to Pinterest, whereas most of the
yeah,
guys are going to gaming. This is a way oversimplification,
yeah, yeah, that makes
oversimplification, but
sense.
let's
Yeah,
just say let's say that's the case as our example here.
yeah,
You would by definition leave out other women on Pinterest who are looking up engineering things
right,
versus, this is way oversimplifying, but and then it makes my heart hurt actually. But to do it
yeah,
this way, but I think it's a simple way to deliver the message. And versus if you go out there and you assume you would pick up women on all the gaming sites and then recruit them into your
yeah,
engineering program, you might be wrong, and so therefore you have inadvertently left out. But if you're a guy and you only know what you know around you, right? Because that's how
Yep.
we all as humans look around at us and learn
Right.
is,
Yeah.
hey, all the engineers I know are guys because, 80% are guys and only 20% are women. So all the ones
Yeah.
I know are guys and they all hang out on these gaming sites. So I'm just going to go recruit there.
Yeah.
That means you're just going to reinforce. And so
Yeah.
you have to be contextually aware as an algorithm, as a person who's instructing, um,
Yep.
bringing the algorithms to the computer programs about, maybe we do need to expand beyond just when we see that only 20% here and we have 80% of whatever it is. Let's say it's not women and men, but it could be
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
You have to figure out, how are you going to weight differently? How are you going to, do you need to create a subset of data and analyze it separately? I mean, there's like a whole bunch of things, and this is where things get wrong
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
sideways.
Yeah. And that makes sense. We do have a question. I'm going to get to that in just a minute. But so, what is that HR leader that's set the job description out, and now they're using AI to go out and find candidates? What are they to do when they get the results back that is that 80% men and 20% women? I mean, how do they change their behavior to accommodate, kind of that getting a diverse workflow? And if you don't want to use male and female, maybe it's ages of different candidates or something like that. What is the business person supposed to do with it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It could be age, it could be anything, literally
Yeah.
culturally, it could be ethnicities. I mean, oh good gosh, it could just go on for days as to how we can inadvertently exclude. And a lot of job descriptions are written by managers, right? So I mean, and
Yeah.
managers, again, in this case, the job description is basically going to be like an algorithm,
Mm.
because you're
Mm.
going to go in and try to replicate what you already have in your company, right? Because you're going to
Yeah.
write it from the perspective of what's available. Well, the word choices, even that I use, how much of what you see, like women will apply to, like if they meet 90% to 100% of what's in the job description versus men will apply to 50% of what's in the, so you have to be
Good enough.
smart as right. You have to be smart. If you're in HR recruiting, not just HR recruitment managers, but actual HR recruiting development of tools. So if
Yeah.
you instruct correctly, build your instruction set correctly, and build your data correctly. So sometimes you have to look at, well, how can I add more women to this, or how can I add more of a certain age group to this or an ethnicity
Yeah.
to this so that I don't exclude. How can I create, sometimes you have to create synthetic data, though I'm not a huge fan of that.
Mm.
How do you build up and bolster and downplay ones that are crowding out with noise in your
Yeah.
system, the others? So, I
Yeah.
mean, there's lots of methods that data scientists can use if they're contextually aware that they're even going to
Yeah.
possibly create a algorithm that could do that, that could be
Yeah.
be biased.
Yeah, well, and that's one of the questions I don't know the name. It just says LinkedIn user, but it says, do you use synthetic data to solve some of the imbalance of the data?
Sometimes you don't have a choice, but the better way to do this is always to try to go out to. There's different companies now that provide the ability to get insights from specific crowds. Remember the good old days of primary research? I mean, literally
Yeah.
like going and creating a focus. Well, it's kind of that same idea, but you're sending out a mass amount of questionnaires to get more data on a particular group that you're missing. Sometimes that
Right.
can be helpful. Sometimes you can hyper tune, use parameters and hyper parameter tuning in your feature set, which is a data scientist's way of doing things, to
Yeah.
create synthetic data. But I don't know. It's always hard. It's always hard. As long as you're aware and you're looking for the right things, you can in fact find. I think that the best way though is just to research those groups that are underserved in the aspects that you're looking at, and being
Yeah.
aware of it, and just trying to make sure that as you're pulling in that you're not getting as you're pulling in results, you're not getting the same exact people over and over, and that there's not some
Right.
sort of weird bias. Like, remember the Amazon case with the
Yeah.
Jareds?
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
so by default, you've left out pretty much anybody non-American, I think. I don't know
Yeah.
many Jareds across I don't know. I
Yeah.
mean, it seems like it's pretty
Yeah.
United States based. I don't know, but we would see, right?
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And it's being careful and I think maybe the right word is aware. Right.
Aware and monitoring what's happening
Yeah.
with the results. Like, what am I actually bringing back from the real world, and is that working, and do I need to immediately adjust, shut down, adjust, and then do? And ultimately Amazon shut that one down completely, right? Because they
Right.
couldn't
Right.
make it work.
Yeah, yeah, and so you also do a lot with women's health, and I'm struck by because I was thinking about one of those Aura rings. I haven't invested in it yet, so I don't know that I will. But there's a lot of AI in health now and health tech, and then you also are a champion for women's health. I mean, do you have big concerns there in that kind of category first, and then maybe we can drill down a little bit?
Of course, I'm gonna sound like a broken record, but of course it's the data, right? I mean,
Mm,
I feel like it's like with politics, and it's the economy, stupid, but I mean, it's the
yeah,
data, stupid, is what I would say.
yeah, yeah,
I mean, back again, the problem is a lot of these things are from systemic issues, right? Because we haven't typically, women's hormones are so fluctuating throughout their life that we've literally been left out of so much research and so much data because of it, because they even the pharmaceutical companies haven't been able to figure out how to account for women's fluctuating hormones in how they
mm,
metabolize even COVID shots, and everything else on the planet, and even how
right,
we present when we have heart attacks is just so very different. And even what we know about women, even what women know about ourselves. If you ask a lot
right,
of women, what's the number one killer of women? A lot of them, because of breast cancer awareness, might say breast cancer. But guess what? Heart attacks are like here,
mm,
and the data
yeah,
for all other cancers combined, including breast cancer, uterine cancer, ovarian cancer, all the cancers combined for women is way down here. So it's
yeah,
cardiac here and all the others here. And mental health, by the way, is also starting to emerge as a huge one, because a lot of what happens, I mean, here's an example. A lot of women get sent home with a Valium when they go
yeah,
present with a heart attack, because
oh,
is now being learned that panic attack actually might be, and there's still studying it, but
yeah,
there's new studies going on, new data being prepared. But it turns out panic attack might actually be a lead in to a woman's heart attack, whereas men have a jaw and an arm, lead into a heart attack. Women present with a lot of different stuff, stomach upset. I mean, weird things that guys
yeah,
don't seem to have. So yeah, I
yeah,
think the thing that scares me the most is that there's not enough data out there to make these bold clinical
yeah,
diagnostics using AI, because there's just not
yeah,
that level of research that men have typically had.
yeah.
So,
That's
but I'm looking
and
forward to more research being funded. I think that as we get more data, we'll just get better and better.
yeah, you just made me think. And by the way, you see people behind me, and I did a very bad job of picking my location in this airport because there's two bowls of nuts and chips and things ahead of me, so people want to get at them. So excuse any disruptions, but I'll help them get to the snacks. So the what you said there is interesting because when I think about any medication, and you read the directions, cautions, whatever it is on the back of it, it's usually based on weight. It's usually based on maybe age, no children under 12 or something like that. But you're right, it doesn't take into account other things. Like when you said hormones, you're absolutely right. There could be an adverse reaction that's not even on that box because they really tested it for your weight relative to the amount of medication going in. So that's a big open-ended thing. How do we get there? How do we close
Well,
that gap?
right. I mean, that's what I'm hoping to do with my new women's health initiative that I am secretly, you guys don't tell anybody, trying to launch as we speak, is trying to help women at least connect with other women about how their health is presenting, so that we start to get some of that data. in there, in out into the world, so we can start using it to help each other and help
Yeah.
pharmaceutical companies help us, honestly, too, as well. And then
Yeah.
also, I mean, I don't know if you know this, but a lot of testing and benchmarking is not even covered by insurance. That's
Yeah.
ridiculous. I mean, we
Yeah.
literally have, like, women need to have benchmarks of where they are on a regular basis with their hormones. And instead, what happens is you show up to the doctor's office, they take a blood draw, and they're like, "Well, here's where you are today." And
Yeah.
that can, because of the fluctuations, it may or may not be helpful. So, I mean, I think, as we learn more and as we can get more testing funded by healthcare organizations, and then
Yeah.
we can start truly getting to some solutions and some validation. Let's just admit it. Like, when it comes to women, a lot of women feel alone out there about, hey, is this crazy? I'm kind of losing hair, and, like, I
Yeah.
can't sleep at night, and some weird things are happening with my skin. But it turns out estrogen, it affects so many metabolic processes inside of women, and how we as women, digest, even, pills and everything else in our
Yeah.
life, and how we even, manage our anxiety. It can be affected very much by hormones. So,
Yeah.
we have to understand those better, and we're getting there. There's more research being funded than ever before, but it's still lacking, and we still need to get there faster. Hopefully, we can use some AI tools to get there.
There you go. There you go. And somebody else commented, I think it's Gokula Mishra said, and it made a good comment, but it says it is the warning that prepackaged software may have biases that you don't know about. So is it more buy versus build if you want to? So the reference was to HR hiring, back to the conversation we were talking earlier. But it said
Uh-huh.
maybe be cautious when you're buying a prepackaged software to do maybe your candidate tracking or something like that. Is that fair? Is that the right assumption?
I think so, absolutely. Well, I mean, it's not necessarily that you have not every company is going to have the ability to build. So, I mean, what you need to do is understand from the development teams that create these, especially if you're using ones that aren't well documented out there just yet.
Yeah.
Understand what they're putting into it. Understand how did they account for any bias. Ask the right questions. Put yourself a discussion question guide together for
Yeah.
the development team or the sales team,
Yeah.
and because, not many people have the ability to develop their own recruitment, and honestly,
Right.
a lot of recruitment software out there specializes in specific industries as well.
Right.
So there's lots of benefits to using those. You just have to make sure that you're not going to exclude any of the people that you want to make sure don't get excluded. Like, you need to understand how do they make up for different ethnicities, how do they make up for gender and age, and that kind of
Yeah.
thing. So that you're not
Yeah.
going to end up with a biased result. Because at the end of the day, and I've done plenty with the employment, agencies and stuff, with the government, you really have to understand, what is the disparate impact? That's the words that they use when they come after you, right? So you
Yeah.
better
Yeah.
you better understand. Plus, you want to be good citizens, so,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
make sure you understand the result of what you're getting. And if you're not getting the results that are ethnically diverse, you need to start asking questions before you actually implement that program based on what you've gotten.
Right.
So it's just a constant monitoring of results. I mean, you got
Yeah.
to make sure you've got the results you want.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so that may be a good time to talk about your nonprofit. What's the primary mission of the nonprofit AIHealth.org?
Oh yeah, aitruth.org. Yeah.
I'm s-
No
I'm sorry.
worries, no worries.
Yeah.
It's
AI Truth.
to
Yeah.
educate businesses and government leaders, and just regular moms and dads, and just, about how kids are affected. I do work with CARU, which is the Better Business Bureau's child advocation and advertising research unit. I mean, like, all kinds of advocacy, just to make sure that people know what's going on, how it's affecting their lives in terms of their jobs, their productivity, their rights, even, like, we can see that there's a lot of monitoring software out there that police are
Yeah.
using to surface individuals, and ironically, people are having to use AI to get out of these situations. Like, hey, my social media program has me GPS to over here, but you think using your facial algorithm that I was over here. So I mean, there's
Yeah.
lots of like AI use against AI actually, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, we're seeing it in every place in everybody's lives.
Yep.
From child, from children, looking at character AI, which is developing your own avatars. I mean,
Yep.
Disney now has the ability to develop your own avatars and making sure that those are safe for
Yeah.
kids, all the way through to helping you understand how AI can affect your job opportunities,
Yeah.
and then working
Yeah.
with businesses to make sure that they understand how to truly integrate that into every aspect of their AI development inside the company, including the much overlooked organizational change management
Yes.
that
Yes.
goes
Yes.
with a lot of the AI tools that needs to be implemented.
Yeah, yeah. We had a
Um,
guest on. We had a guest on earlier. His name is Tony, and he talked a lot of. He spent more time on change management than anything because of the nature of that. So let's dive into that workplace. I mean, first off,
yeah.
what should leaders be saying and directing their next level managers and stuff? What's the core message they need to deliver to make sure that their employees are safe and make sure their customers are safe? All of those things.
Well, there needs to be a full-on training of people when any AI is going to be used inside the company, whether the company develops the AI themselves, or whether the company is going to go out and use AI with their users. Like in the case of Disney, they both use AI internally and they use AI externally as well.
Yeah.
So you have to, all of your employees and board members, I mean, that's an overlooked area as well, need to know, what is this thing going to do? How's it going to work? How do the
Yeah.
rails come? How do we predict the rails could come off? If those rails come off, what's our plan to remediate that? And it can't just be, well, we're going to have a big PR conversation. No, it can't be just about schmoozing
Yeah.
the news people. No, this has to be a true, honest to goodness, because customers really, trust is completely eroded in the marketplace right now.
Yeah.
Completely. I love the Edelman Trust Barometer. I watch it, and now there's others coming out. PwC, I think, came out with one as well, a trust
Hmm.
barometer for business users. So I mean, trust is, you're going to have to earn it. And if you can't show people how you're going to protect them and put
Yeah.
guardrails in place and what your plan is, then they're not
Yeah.
buying it. Literally, they're
Yeah.
not buying
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Well, and when you think about rolling out technology inside of a company, a lot of times the employees don't get a choice of what they're starting to use because it's been decided
That's
by IT
true.
or whomever. And so how does I mean, how do you I mean, what's your training methodology? I mean, is there just always a policy that says here's our ethical view of this AI, or is it broader than that?
Well, first you have to start with the strategy. I mean,
Mm.
it goes all the way back from the moment that you think you want to develop a particular type of AI. You need to evaluate it. Is this a high risk AI, or are we just like picking colors? Like, like,
Yeah.
is this an AI that's just
Yeah.
going to pick colors around or whatever? And I'm not saying like, maybe colors are important to some people, but I don't care about that.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Yeah.
if it's something that's going to impact someone's livelihood,
Yep.
safety, or happiness in it, like, and I'm talking like in a big structural way, like give them no hope
Yes.
of being able to change the system, so to say, and not, just kind of, replace them as, and their
Yeah.
purpose and their meaning,
Right.
then that's a problem. And you have to rethink how you handle that type of AI, and you have to be super careful in putting policies in place from the very beginning, making sure that you're always analyzing, do we have a representative set of data going into this
Yep.
situation? Is this even a humane use of AI? There's a list of questions actually on aitruth.org that
Wow.
I promote to business leaders to say, can you answer these questions? If you can't answer these questions, you're not even ready. You're not even ready
Yeah.
to implement that AI.
Oh, I love
And
that. Yeah.
as you go through the process, so I've also put up a process map so that you can kind
Yeah.
of go through this wheel as you
Yep.
face each part of the process of the AI life cycle process. Then you should be able to do those things at each process and answer those questions. And if you
Yeah.
can't, then you don't need to, then you're not going to do a good job of leading with AI in your company. You have to be
Yeah.
able to implement policies,
Yeah.
train your employees. Every employee should know at the very least about what type of AI is being used that's high risk, even if they don't necessarily get a say. But I would encourage the key stakeholders inside of a company should always be given a chance to weigh in. You should
Yeah.
always have a process and a time and a place for people to weigh in. And because we see what happens when you don't do that. We've seen the many Google,
Yeah.
employees
Yeah.
are a force. They are
Yes.
absolutely a force to be reckoned with, and they can absolutely tank a product well
Yeah.
before it comes out.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Yeah.
I think we say employees don't have a choice. They kind of do, because,
Yep.
well, I mean, they don't and they do. They don't
Yep.
because you could roll it out anyway. But if you don't go through the stakes of trying to get them on board first, that's a
Yeah.
big mistake, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. And because there's so much you can read about AI is going to replace people's jobs, and then does it really? What? Yeah, there's so much hype out there that's. I think the companies have to, before they roll it out, there needs to be a strategy and a conversation about what it is and what it isn't, and why it's important to the company, right? Because
And what
it
it's
it
being
does
used
need.
for. Yeah.
Yeah,
If you're going to do
yeah,
surveillance, you better make sure that you are explaining and giving a transparency framework, developing a
yep,
transparency framework that says, this is what it's going to be used for. This is how
yep,
we're going to take your data. We're going to empty out that data so you have a new chance to start over, so that you're not always locked into being whatever performance. Let's say they're doing performance ratings off of surveillance, which
yeah,
but if that's what they're going to do, then they should at least be a good enough company with leadership, strong enough leadership to go in and say, hey, look, this is what we're
yeah,
using this for. It'll only be on and used during these times. Then, and put put it to a finite
yep,
measure, say, hey, we will only use it from this time to this time.
yep,
You won't know exactly when or whatever, because obviously that's why they're doing it. It's trying to get a baseline of what people are doing without them really knowing. But I mean, they should at
yeah,
least have some idea, and then they should know what was the ultimate decision that was made, and why was that decision made, and how long will it take before the next cycle, so that there's a
yep,
new opportunity, because people are driven by hope and
yep,
opportunity. Come on.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah,
you don't want to
absolutely.
be that kind of company that's just gonna have
Yep,
your employees not trust you anymore and
yeah,
feel
yeah.
super stressed and competitive with each other.
Yeah, yeah, I've been a part of many productivity-based rollouts of technology, and some of them go fabulously because they get people behind the project and the reason why they're doing it. And there's others that are the surveillance type, and they are miserable environments when they act that way. So
Yeah.
it's
There's
incredible.
fun ones where you're like competing with other
Yeah,
teams and
yep,
your team gets closer because of it. And then there's ones where it's just beatings on the head,
yeah,
basically. And you're
yeah,
like, that's not the way to use AI.
yeah, exactly. So we're almost out of time. I'm curious about your book. Can you tell us a little bit about the book?
Oh, thank you so much for mentioning it. It's what you don't know, AI's unseen influence in your life, since we've been talking about all the unseen influence,
Yeah,
and how to take back control. So at the end of every chapter, when I talk about kids, I talk about make this contract with your kids before they get that first device. Like, this is what
yeah,
you will and will not do. You will not post pictures of yourself with your home address in the background. You will not post pictures of yourself at school by yourself. Like
yeah,
things that could set up predatory. And then I talk about how to outdo the AI interview process. If you're going to be interviewed by AI, here's what to look out for and how to claim back some semblance of yourself.
Yeah.
while
Yeah.
still getting the AI interview done. And then, of course, talking about, what happens in employee productivity monitoring,
Yep.
what your rights are, how to, how to think about, and how to know that you're being monitored. All the grocery stores, for example, that monitor you as you go through their store. I
Yeah.
have lists of
Yeah.
those. So, I mean, it's like everything. And then as
Yeah.
business people, it talks about the major business functions that I've seen AI be used for and how to be ethical about those. And then at the very end, the most important part is a challenge, really, to all leaders out there, to take the AI challenge, and the AI ethics challenge, and say, yeah, we will do these things in an ethical way. And a lot of it is based on the questions on the website right now. So if you go to aitruth.org, you'll see
Yep.
all of those questions that, and if you can answer the right way to those, then you're doing pretty good. And you'll probably meet all of the EU
Yeah.
AI regulatory and the Texas AI regulatory now too, coming up
Nice.
January. Everybody, January,
Yeah.
it's going to be enforced January. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I've got
exciting.
two more questions for you that I ask everybody. But before that, I just want to remind everybody this is sponsored by Time Bandit. So go to timebandit.io and check out the mobile app, the book, as well as the training opportunities on Time Bandit. So, so two questions I always ask everybody. And did you want to mention the Texas thing for a minute? Or yeah, I
The
felt like I cut you off.
TREGA, Texas Responsible AI Governance Act. It will be coming out January 2026. It will be on a per complaint basis with the Attorney General's office. So they are giving, if you document what you're doing, and honestly, if you can answer all the questions I have on aitruth.org, you will be in a good position with the Attorney General as well,
Yeah.
according
Yeah.
to the rules stated in that act. So in the
Yeah.
Texas Responsible AI Governance Act, TREGA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would encourage everybody in the state of Texas. There's also, I think it's through the Texas Workforce Commission. They will actually pay small businesses or give us a stipend to small businesses to do AI training of their employees. And I just urge everybody, no matter what state you live in, to go see if
Perfect.
that's available, because you started this conversation by it starts with education, and that's great. And by the way, Shraven said great insights, Courtney, and absolutely correct. He agreed with everything you said. So that was another
Oh,
comment
thank
on it
you.
that I want to mention. So the last two questions is, number one, what is a daily habit that Courtney has that's non-negotiable?
Oh, well, for me, it's every morning I get up and pray.
There you go.
That's
Good.
non-negotiable. I feel
Absolutely.
like we need a lot more love and care in this world. So,
That's great. Yes, absolutely. That is fantastic. And then secondly, I've been toying with this idea that tomorrow is more important than yesterday. And if that statement is true, kind of what are your thoughts on that, and how do you focus on today versus yesterday? Dwelling on the past.
oh, I don't dwell on the past much at all, actually. I try to just always keep moving forward,
Yeah.
because we're always going to make big, huge mistakes. We're always going to do things that we regret.
Yep.
And we
Yep.
just need to keep trying to make things better and better and better. And matter of fact, I start my book with that very
Ah.
situation where I'm talking about a situation that I kind of regret with a big cigarette company, actually. So,
Yeah.
and then I talk
Very good.
about, but we've got to move forward. We've got to use our past to educate our future, right? We got to use
Yeah.
our past
Yeah.
to educate our future.
Yeah.
And if I give you nothing else, this one leave behind is that relationships are the single most important thing. And if we can't use AI to build relationships, if we use them in any way to tear them down, whether we're
Yeah.
creating distrust, whether we're not following through and helping people, get to the end game, point A to
Yeah.
point B if you're a vehicle, automated vehicle group or whatever. But if we're
Yeah.
not doing things to safely help people, then we're not doing
Yeah.
it right. Because we got to value human to human relationships more than anything on the planet.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I love that. That's a great way to end on relationships, the importance of that. I love it. So, Courtney, thank you so much for being here. For everybody listening and watching, you can find us on YouTube, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all that stuff. So go like and follow or subscribe, whatever their mechanism is on your platform to see every episode. Courtney, thank you so much. Everybody should go out and check out aitruth.org and go get the book, What You Didn't Know, or What You Don't Know, I think is the right way to say that. Uh, and Courtney, thank you so much for helping everybody just learn more about AI, responsible AI, and keeping everybody safe. Thank you so much for everything you do.
Thanks for having me. It's been great.
Excellent. Everybody, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time, and have a great trick or treat.